Tonight on CFTK-TV News, Phil Germuth was re-elected to the RDKS Board of Directors. The RM Lee Hospital Foundation got quite the donation recently, and the new NDP MLAs have been sworn in.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Good evening, I'm Cal Maslin, and here's what's making the news in the Northwest and beyond for today. A recent report has revealed that Kitimat's Mayor Phil Germuth has again been elected to represent the municipality he governs on the Regional District of Kitimat-Stikeed's Board of Directors. Germuth's path to being re-elected into this position was so clear that he did not, in fact, face any opposition whatsoever. He first joined the board all the way back in 2012 when he served as an alternate director before he became an official director in 2014, and he even served as the board's chair between 2017 and 2023. But going back to the alternate director position, it was said that Kitimat councillor Terry Marlowe was selected to that position, so he will fill in for a principal director on the days that they cannot attend a meeting. A sizable donation has been made to the RM Lee Hospital Foundation ahead of the Kaizen Regional Hospital's soon-to-be expected opening. CFTK's Jayleen Matthews reports.
It has long been a stressful reality for Northwest mothers that if you or your newborn will require neonatal care, you can expect to get airlifted to Prince George or Vancouver. Over the last 3.5 years, 95 mothers with a birth emergency were transferred out of the region, and 55 newborns made those journeys as well. However, at the new Kasiyan Regional Hospital, this will no longer be the case. With the opening of their new $14.5 million Tier 3 neonatal intensive care unit and special care nursery facility. With expanded birthing capabilities, the unit will be able to support deliveries and newborn care at 34 weeks, and in emergent cases, 32 weeks. 5 weeks ahead of existing capacities. The unit has been a community effort with many organizations fundraising for the cause. The latest sizable donation comes from the Prince Rupert Port Authority, who have announced a $430,000 commitment through their Community Investment Fund. The Port Authority said in a statement, this investment will help keep patients closer to their homes, families, and support systems during their most physically and emotionally challenging days. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Jayleen Matthews.
It was a bittersweet day at the legislature in Victoria as 47 NDP MLAs were sworn in, and looming large over the ceremony was the death of former Premier John Horgan. CTV's Yasmin Gandam has more on that and current Premier David Eby's challenges ahead.
And we will always carry the memory of John.
The ceremony began with a prayer and words of sympathy for the family of former BC Premier John Horgan, who died Tuesday at the age of 65 after a third battle with cancer.
And I feel like he was there with us today in the swearing in, and he would have been clapping and cheering loudly for all these amazing MLAs.
That wasn't the only tribute. Many MLAs remembered the former leader. Langford Highlands MLA Ravi Parmar even wore a Victoria Shamrocks lacrosse jersey to honor his longtime friend.
What you see behind me is the team that is ready to continue the work that John set out.
Horgan's death looming over the swearing in for 47 NDP members of the legislature after a very tight election, and the NDP majority only confirmed after recounts took place weeks later.
But it is a narrow majority. And part of the message that I received was that we should be working with any MLAs that want to work and use this place to make sure that we're delivering for British Columbians on those key priorities.
The NDP's new caucus includes 29 returning members of the legislature and 18 who are newly elected, while 31 are women.
That the policies that are put forward will be better and more effective because there are people around the table who are saying, hold on a sec, we need to make sure that we're considering these different things.
Key priorities for his government ahead of deciding his cabinet are affordability, cost of living, healthcare, and community safety. It comes after the election left the party with few seats outside of the Lower Mainland and Vancouver Island.
I think particularly around healthcare, where emergency room closures have particularly impacted rural communities. We're going to make sure that we address those issues. And we've heard that loud and clear.
In terms of whether he will work with the BC Conservative Party and carry on Horgan's legacy of building bridges across party lines,
So that's what I see my job as Premier, to bring people together to do that work. And anyone that doesn't want to do that or wants to use this place to promote different agendas, I just don't have time for it.
EB's new cabinet will be sworn in on Monday at Government House. Yasmin Gandam, CTV News, Vancouver.
Coming up next is a report on how Vancouver can best prepare for a future earthquake. Welcome back. Employers at BC ports say pickets have come down at container terminals across the province and cargo operations should have resumed at 4:30 today. The Canada Industrial Relations Board made the order after Federal Labour Minister Stephen McKinnon directed it to intervene with negotiations under binding arbitration. The dispute between employers and about 700 unionized supervisors had resulted in a lockout of more than a week at ports including Vancouver, Canada's busiest. The BC Maritime Employers Association says the board has also scheduled a hearing next week for both sides in the dispute to raise questions about McKinnon's decision to intervene. We now look at a drug bust revealing BC's connection to one of the world's most notorious and violent drug cartels. Metro Vancouver's role in international organized crime is raising concerns about the lack of security at our ports. CTV's Shannon Patterson has that story.
Alongside the bags of drugs, cash, and weapons seized when RCMP raided a major trafficking operation in Surrey in September, 3 Mexican passports. A clue that this bust was connected to drug kingpins outside our borders.
They're one of the main Mexican drug cartel groups.
This bust was announced a week after the public learned about Canada's biggest drug super lab on a rural property near Kamloops. It, too, was connected to Mexican drug cartels.
This is a completely separate investigation. The main commodity in this one was cocaine, and it was an importation as opposed to the export of the super lab.
RCMP were cagey about the cartel they believe is behind the Surrey operation.
This drug operation was disrupted as a result of the arrest of one of their main leaders in the United States over the summer. So I can't state exactly which drug cartel, as this is an ongoing investigation, but you can probably connect the dots.
In July, the leader of the Sinaloa cartel, Ismael El Mayo Garcia, was arrested in Texas.
They're huge, they're ruthless, they're smart, they don't pick sides.
Peter Edwards co-authored The Wolf Pack, a book about how BC gangsters helped usher the Mexican cartel into Canada. He says they operate here because of proximity to the port of Vancouver.
To me, it makes total sense. It's not that tough to get things to Australia, to New Zealand, down to California.
He thinks by announcing 2 major busts involving Mexican cartels in a week, RCMP are sending a message to local affiliates.
The cartel guys will get away with it, and they're not going to lock them up, but they will catch the BC guys, or some of them, and some of them will turn on each other.
These drugs and weapons were seized at a heavily fortified home in a residential Surrey neighborhood.
They had steel shutters, razor wires, a lot of surveillance equipment.
2 Canadian citizens and 1 Mexican national were arrested and released pending charges.
As far as the criminal justice system, the length it takes to approve charges and things like that, that's out of the police's hands.
Edwards doubts the drug busts will deter Mexican cartels from setting up shop in BC.
On the one hand, it's a huge deal that they caught these drugs. On the other hand, they're not crying down in Sinaloa. They're just packing it up and heading off again. No one lost any sleep over this.
Shannon Patterson, CTV News, Surrey.
It's a stark warning of what Vancouver could look like when the big one hits. A report to City Council outlines which neighborhoods and types of buildings are most at risk of being destroyed in an earthquake. The challenge is what to do about it before catastrophe strikes. CTV's Abigail Turner reports.
The city of Vancouver is home to many unique, vibrant neighborhoods, many now listed as being most at risk when a massive earthquake hits.
The report does paint a challenging picture of what an earthquake could mean for the city, absolutely.
And what it could mean: $17 billion worth of destruction, more than 6,000 privately owned buildings damaged, and more than 1,300 people potentially severely injured or killed. The information shared in a report presented to city councilors, calling for staff to develop a comprehensive seismic risk reduction strategy, as scientists predict a mega thrust quake off the coast in the next 50 years.
Everyone in Vancouver knows that earthquakes are a massive risk for the city.
Micah Hilt, the lead seismic policy planner, found these 6 neighborhoods could see the greatest impact, many built before 1990 with older brick, wood, and concrete.
In those areas, 3/4 of the people are renting. Many of them are low income, many of them are seniors, and that is a key focus as we work to develop a strategy to reduce risk gradually.
According to one expert, making the seismic changes benefits more than just those in Vancouver.
We are all connected economically. A catastrophe in British Columbia and Vancouver, because City Council fails to act, will harm the rest of the country.
The current report does not outline costs, but is calling for provincial and federal support.
Its choice is between paying for mitigation now in a stately, well thought out, planned process, or recovering from a disaster and then paying for the mitigation.
With councillors agreeing to have staff develop a risk reduction strategy for 2025, Hilt's team will compile one that is expected to share just how much money it could cost in what would be a massive undertaking. Abigail Turner, CTV News, Vancouver.
A BC teen is listed in critical condition, fighting symptoms of what's believed to be the extremely rare avian flu, also known as bird flu. Now, officials are working to determine how the teen contracted it and to make sure it doesn't spread. CTV's Kevin Chirac reports further.
A teenager is struggling to stay alive in BC Children's Hospital.
Sadly, they right now remain in critical condition.
Battling the avian flu, commonly found in wild birds and poultry, but extremely rare in humans, and most cases are mild.
So how humans get infected is by inhaling the virus in aerosols, in droplets that get into the eyes or into the back of the throat and the nose or deep into the lungs.
It's believed to be the first known human case acquired in Canada. But outbreaks are active at more than 20 poultry facilities in the Lower Mainland and Fraser Valley, with more than 6 million birds euthanized as a result of the virus since 2022.
We added additional measures. For example, farm gates are closed so that visitors are only coming onto the farm if it's essential, that they have to come with an appointment, they have to wear PPE, similar PPE to what farm workers would wear, masks, gloves, coveralls, boots that are only worn in the barn.
Dr. Henry says there's been no link between the teen and poultry farms and that wild birds or other animals are the prime suspects. Officials now trying to control the spread, starting with those closest to the patient.
And we would have tested a number in the vicinity of 36 people.
Pets can also get it and spread it to humans. Officials warning to keep away from sick or dead birds. In Finland, the country's rolled out preemptive vaccines for people who work with animals. One infectious disease expert says that approach should be explored here in BC.
Other countries seem to have done it, and I think we should have those discussions at this point.
Dr. Henry says the risk is too low to consider vaccines right now and that there's currently no H5N1 vaccines in the country, with the main priorities finding the cause and limiting the spread. Kevin Chirac, CTV News.
Turning to tonight's weather, the North Coast will end up dealing with a chance of showers as well as a low of 5 degrees. The Terrace-Kitimat area is set to see a chance of rain or flurries with a low down at 0 degrees. And the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District will more than likely have some partly cloudy conditions as their low sits at -5 degrees. On the North Coast, the next week or so will see nothing but rain and a high shifting from 9 to 5 degrees. In the Terrace-Kitimat area, the upcoming week will instead get at least a mix of rain and snow/flurries, with the high bouncing between 5 and 0 degrees. And in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, the week for them will possibly see a little sun at some points, but mostly cloudy and snowy conditions outside of that, and the high will move between 1 and -4 degrees. Checking out the highways now, visit Drive BC for the latest and up-to-date conditions, and as always, drive safe out there. On Highway 16, there is slippery sections, road maintenance work, utility work, construction work, and other maintenance. Highway 35 has slippery sections, and 118 has some slippery sections too. Highway 37 has some slippery sections as well. Highway 37A has slippery sections, shoulder maintenance, and bridge maintenance. There's some construction work on the Nishka Highway, and the Telegraph Creek Road has slippery sections as well. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, the U.S. presidency seems set to transfer to Donald Trump peacefully. Welcome back. U.S. President Joe Biden hosted President-elect Donald Trump at the White House, signaling a peaceful power transition. The meeting comes as Republicans are projected to retain House majority after winning control of the Senate. NBC's Alice Barr reports.
Donald, congratulations.
President Biden today welcoming President-elect Trump to the White House, meeting for nearly 2 hours in a return to the traditions of a peaceful transfer of power. The president-elect offering his thanks. He did not host then President-elect Biden during the last transition as he sought to reverse the 2020 results.
Politics is tough, and it's in many cases not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today, and I appreciate it very much.
Before the sit-down, President-elect Trump celebrating with House Republicans as NBC News now projects the GOP secured control of the House, cementing a Republican sweep.
It's always nice to win.
Another win today on Capitol Hill for South Dakota Senator John Thune, who Senate Republicans voted in as their new majority leader. He'll oversee approval of Trump administration nominees. The president-elect announcing Florida Senator Marco Rubio as his pick for Secretary of State. Matt Gaetz, his selection for Attorney General. If confirmed, the Florida congressman would lead the Department of Justice that has investigated him in the past. And Fox News host Pete Hegseth, his choice for Secretary of Defense. The Army National Guard veteran who served in Iraq and Afghanistan has argued against women in combat roles and said the military focuses too much on diversity.
Any general that was involved, general, admiral, whatever, that was involved in any of the DEI woke, it's got to go.
Democrats pushing back.
The selection of this person who has very little experience in running the largest department in the federal government, serious concerns.
President-elect Trump also tapping tech billionaire Elon Musk and entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy to lead a new Department of Government Efficiency with promises to slash spending and bureaucracy, saying they'll provide advice from outside of the government that the president-elect is preparing to lead. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Lyle and Eric Menendez have spent 35 years in jail for murdering their parents. Now, with the documentary and Netflix series highlighting their case, there's been a public push to have them resentenced. But according to ABC's Kanya Whitworth, a new LA district attorney isn't on board yet.
Just weeks ago, in that bombshell move, the Los Angeles DA called for a judge to free the Menendez brothers after 35 years in prison for the murders of their parents.
I believe that they have paid their debt to society.
But tonight, after a landslide defeat, the newly elected district attorney, Nathan Hochman, telling us, not so fast.
We're really going to do this?
Despite a media frenzy surrounding a popular Netflix documentary and scripted series, Hochman says he now wants to review all the evidence.
If you decide this case based on just reviewing a Netflix documentary, you're doing a disservice to the Menendez brothers, to the victim family members, to the public.
Hochman questioning the motive and the timing of DA George Gascon's decision so close to the election.
There's a cloud over that credibility. Is it a just decision, or was it just a political ploy? There will be no cloud over whatever decision I do, because I will spend the time to thoroughly review the facts in the law.
And now we turn our attention to how the stock markets are looking today compared to yesterday. The Canadian dollar is down 24/10 of a cent. The price of gold is down $13.66. Oil is up 27 cents. Natural gas is down 19 cents. Aluminum is down $14.50. In Toronto, the TSX is up 16.65 points. The Venture Index is down 3.21. In New York, the Dow Jones is down 207.33, and NASDAQ is down 123.08. Still ahead is the latest ringside report on the Vancouver Canucks. Welcome back. Canucks forward Elias Pettersson celebrated his 26th birthday in style recently as he ascended to 10th on the franchise's all-time scoring list. His big night helped propel the team to a much-needed home ice win that saw another young Swede make his Canucks debut. CTV's Ben Milger has this week's ringside report.
With a goal and an assist against the Flames Tuesday, Elias Pettersson moved into 10th all-time on the Canucks points list with 421. More importantly, after some early season struggles, the Swede seems to have found his form.
He just seems like last week he's really kind of, enough's enough, and he's rolling up the sleeves, and that's what I want to see from him.
On his 26th birthday, Pettersson earned first star of the game in a 3-1 win.
How's this win for a birthday present?
It's a great win, and thanks everyone for...
Give it up for Petey.
In addition to the goal, Pettersson set teammates up for a number of scoring chances, including this assist on Eric Brandstrom's first as a Canuck. Petey now has 4 points in the last 2 games, nearly doubling his season output.
It looks like he's found his way out of the wilderness. He looked lost earlier in the season, but there's certainly a purpose to the way that he's playing right now. And I think he's being rewarded for it. Going to the front of the net, staying in the front of the net. You look at his 3 recent goals, 2 of them deflections, and last night a tap in the blue paint at the front of the net.
Jonathan Lecker-Mackey made his NHL debut, getting the rookie treatment with a solo lap in warm-up. The 2022 first-round pick didn't look out of place and even had some scoring chances.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot there to like. Smart player, when he has the puck, there's not a lot of panic. He's just going to get better.
Lecker-Mackey's parents flew in from Sweden for the occasion, anxiously hoping to see him score. He didn't, but he did look like he belongs in the league.
Just to try and enjoy it and have fun. I'm here for a reason, so just play my game.
Did you enjoy it and have fun?
Yes, I did.
So did fans who watched his team move back into the win column. Ben Milger, CTV News, Vancouver.
Police in Metro Vancouver say 3 people have been charged after a multi-year investigation into an alleged drug trafficking operation in Richmond. RCMP say the probe began in November 2021, and searches at multiple properties in that city, as well as Vancouver, turned up some 1,500 tablets of alleged MDMA, as well as 3.6 kilograms of methamphetamine. The 3 people are facing a total of 13 counts of drug trafficking. Police say the investigation stemmed from intelligence obtained in a separate case that's currently making its way through court. The federal government has announced $32 million in funding over 3 years for infrastructure improvements at 18 small harbors in BC. Fisheries and Oceans Canada say work is expected to begin this fall. The department says 9 of the harbors are on Vancouver Island, while 4 are in the Lower Mainland, 2 are on the Sunshine Coast, and 1 is on the North Coast. The funding is part of more than $460 million earmarked to support maintenance and repairs at small craft harbors. That is all of our news for now. From everyone at CFTK-TV News, I'm Cale Maslin, and thanks for watching.